Let's be honest, there is nothing more dangerous than a man who knows exactly what he's doing and a young woman who doesn't realize she's being positioned. Because some men don't pursue younger women out of love, they pursue younger women out of leverage. Hey lovelies, this is Janelle, the relationship coach behind The Successful Invisible, and I'm here today with another episode of Response and React. India Love's painful realization exposes the truth. Many older men target younger women. And when India Love spoke about being 19 years old and involved with a 35-year-old man, what she was really revealing wasn't just her story. She was exposing a pattern that countless women don't fully understand until years later, when their brain catches up to their experience. Because when you're young, you think he chose me. But when you're older, you realize he chose you because you were easier to control and manipulate. And if you don't learn how to identify these patterns early, you will misinterpret attention as respect, proximity as protection, and desire as love. And that misunderstanding can cost you years of your life. This is exactly why I teach women how to observe behavior, not words, because words are performance, patterns are truth. If you want deeper coaching on how to identify predatory patterns early, strengthen your standards, and build the kind of emotional clarity that protects you from wasting years on the wrong man, I've created a private coaching community on Coffee where I give structured exercises, scripts, and real-world breakdowns like this. You can join whenever you're ready. Now let's talk about the 5 patterns this situation reveals after we watch a couple clips about India Love's revelation.
India Love comes out and she talks about being groomed by game. For context, she was 19, he was 35. He put his 35-year-old hands inside of her pants in a park, knew paparazzi was there and smelled them. Embarrassed that little girl. And yes, I'm gonna call her a little girl, she was 19 years old. Now at 30, she's realizing everything she has been through, every mistake she has made, and she's a grown woman now. But men being able to be predatory because a license says 19 instead of 17, insane. The game being able to still have fame and fortune, and I'm almost positive he's also accused of other assault case. But I want to talk about women who have been through that. Something happened to you young and it shaped your reality and you made decisions based off of what happened to you. It hurt her. She talked about it a lot of time, how she felt like he was using her, and he did. And that's what predators do. And it's so sad that at the grown age of 30, it's all coming to her, and I'm grateful. It's sad, but it's also a really good thing that she's starting to realize, oh my God, like these things affected me, and I'm able to identify them, point them out. Grown men have been attracted to me, attempting to groom me since I was 9 years old. 9. Underdeveloped, underprepared, confused, all of that. And I think the more women start coming out and talking about and naming the men and holding them accountable and shaming them and giving back that shame, embarrassment, and guilt that they gave to us when they did it to us, the better off we're going to be. I do it all the time. I talk about it on my podcast. I drop names. I drop locations, and I bring predators outside of the light. Because what tends to happen is prey, and people who are preyed upon go into hiding and go into internalizing everything that happened to them, and it shapes their life, and it shapes their decision making, and it shapes the world around them. But no, turn that shit back on them, because they are truly the fucked up individuals. Them. India was legal, is what y'all keep saying in my comments, but as a black person who lives in America, legality doesn't equal morality, right? Because it was so legal for people to own children, sell men, and do whatever they wanted with human beings in the United States of America. I don't trust legality. Neither should you, okay?
I went through a lot in my 20s. I made a lot of mistakes, and there was a lot of people who drugged me through the dirt for it. And I believed it for a long time. I wasn't nice to myself because of
Young pretty privilege in the hands of older men is dangerous. Behind every single woman that was born with an immense amount of pretty privilege, there is a story of trauma, immense trauma in her life. And behind that story of immense trauma is always a man that is significantly older than her. This is why applied information given to women based off of age and where they are in their life is so important. Because when you aren't 30 yet, you're just not going to get it. You're just not going to get it. Like when you think of people like Aaliyah died before ever realizing that she was taken advantage of. She died before she ever got the chance to realize that she was exploited. She never got the chance to grow into womanhood, to reflect back on her past dealings with people in the industry, with her own mother sexualizing her. She never was able to gain that life experience due to how young she was when she passed away. I've always loved India Love because I had a Tumblr, right? I'm like a end of the line millennial. I had a Tumblr and India Love was always just so beautiful. Her curly hair was like a fashion statement, right? Like the baggy clothes, like her abs and all of that stuff. Such at a young age, able to have an immense amount of pretty privilege. And when men view young women that have a large amount of pretty privilege, they see you as prey. And they are literally going to fly on you like a hawk. And they are going to put their claws on you. And they're going to swoop you up. And then when they're done having their way with you, they're going to drop you off in the middle of the ocean to drown and to struggle and to wait for somebody to come to your aid. I'm so glad that she took the time to reflect back on her life and realize that this up here, your mind, your brain, you being able to comprehend your past life experiences and understanding that you no longer live in that headspace anymore because you've gained wisdom, you've gained experience, and you're able to reflect back and think like, wow, people really betrayed me. People really wronged me. People really had me out there with no type of setup, with no type of protection. The same thing with Britney Spears, an immense amount of pretty privilege at a very, very young age. And look at all of the people, and in her case, not only men, but men and women, how much they traumatized her, how much they took advantage of her, how much they exploited her. And this is why a lot of the things I don't really harp on crazy when it comes to younger women, because you can give a younger woman knowledge, her brain will not be able to catch up to the knowledge and the wisdom that you're giving her in most cases. Life experience is going to have to do that. There always has to be a level of empathy that younger women have for themselves by just accepting the fact that, baby, you didn't live long enough to know what the fuck you were doing. You did not reach the destination point for you to be able to have the realizations that you are now able to have. And like I said before, when you're young and you have that amount of pretty privilege, same thing with Cassie. When you see the doors and the opportunities that your pretty privilege can give you, no one is going to sit here and tell you the things that you need to know to protect yourself. No one is going to sit here and tell you, you have a lot of privilege just based off of your beauty alone, and there are a lot of people that are going to try to use and they're going to try to exploit that. As a young woman, no one's going to protect you. No one's going to warn you of that information, especially men. Men are not going to tell you that.
I just saw a video about India Love crying about how she felt like she was taken advantage of in her teen years by older men. And yes, If you were there, if you knew India Love from her Tumblr days, you know that her lore is extremely sad. She was the cutest thing ever, that hottest girl walking around, and all those old ass men, they took advantage of her, they preyed on her, and they ruined her. A lot of women, as we get older, we look back in our teen years, in our early 20s, and we just really see just the way these men really preyed on us, and it all hits. And I think that's what she was going through in that clip, and that's why she was crying like that. Let's keep in mind, she was fucking with the game when she was very young. The game is an old ass man. Mind you, the game is the same nigga who was just going viral not that long ago for Evelyn Lozada, her daughter. And like, that man, he is a creep, okay? He's been a creep, he still is a creep. Y'all remember the pictures when they were in a park on a picnic or something like that, and his hand was all down her pants, and then he started sucking on his fingers right after that? I think she was no older than like 22 during that time. So yeah, like, it is so sad that a lot of women, we are preyed on when we're young because we're naive. You don't know too much about the world. You think fucking with an older nigga is cool and whatnot, but then your frontal lobe develops and you actually get older and you start seeing the world for what it really is, and it's like, damn, that wasn't all fun and games. Like, I'm low-key a victim. So I'm sending my thoughts and prayers and my love to her, because I know that exact feeling that she's expressing. A lot of women know that exact feeling that she's expressing. And I saw her come up in 4K. I've seen the way these niggas have taken advantage of her, and it's sad.
So a video of India Love crying just came across my For You page, and y'all know I've spoken on her before. When another clip of her talking about, a bitch turn 18 every day popped up on my FYP. But in this video, she showed a side of vulnerability of herself that I genuinely related to and appreciate. What India was expressing was basically like, she went through some trauma, which, a lot of beautiful women do, because rather y'all like to admit it or not, there is a downside to pretty privilege. There just is. Like, there's a downside to everything. That is the law of the fucking universe. Polarity, duality. But what really made me sad is that a lot of beautiful women get caught up in just their looks. I speak on this a lot, okay? Where you feel like just because you are a beautiful woman, that is the only thing you have to offer to the world. And that's what she was basically saying. She was like, for a long time, I would have things I wanted to say, but I didn't have the confidence to say them because she didn't know what she was good at. And to me, that is motherfucking crazy. India could easily start a clothing line. I think that out of all the girls, that is the girl I would shop with, because she's actually passionate about fashion. You can tell. But if you don't believe that, then it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. I just said this too. Like, all the women getting on here talking about we're the men who like ugly women. And, I'm not trying to invalidate, people's experience. But like I said, being beautiful do not guarantee you a good life. It don't guarantee you that you are not going to face obstacles or that you're not insecure. All humans have insecurities. Again, here is this very beautiful, conventionally attractive, curly-haired, light-skinned woman also crying about not having a sense of identity and direction. Women need to tap into their own self-concept. That's for unconventionally attractive women, conventionally attractive women, because it's so easy to get caught up in the male gaze in a patriarchal society. And unfortunately, I feel like India got caught up in that, and you can't blame her. Like, she's been hot since, but it's time to pivot. Like, even her going into streaming, like, not saying you can't be a streamer, but she could really lock in and build something. But you have to be okay with being in relations with other women. You ain't gonna be able to build no business with these men. You have to be okay with being in relations to other women. But when you lack self-identity, self-concept, self-worth, it is hard for you to walk in these rooms and be around these powerful women.
So yesterday, I uploaded a video about India Love. She was on stream praying and crying about being taken advantage of as a teenager. She was, asking God for forgiveness, and the amount of replies to that video on Twitter from men were just egregious. Like, there are so many men just shaming her and, you know, making excuses for grown-ass men, cracking teenagers. Like, it was just nasty work. And I got into a little bit of a back and forth with one dude. I told myself I wasn't going to get into back and forth on Twitter anymore, but it happened. It didn't go on for that long. It was brief. But, like, I'll just read off the tweets. So the first tweet says, being used by older men as a minor is not a 304 phase, which I agree with. If you're a grown-ass man and a minor is presenting themselves to you in a, you know, sexual manner, obviously you should be smart enough to know that you shouldn't be doing anything with them. And then this nigga replied, why are you with older men, genuinely? What do you think they're hanging out with you for? And I replied, why are grown-ass men trying to get with teenagers? Then he replied, if we are making this type of discrepancy between grown men and teenagers, shouldn't the law reflect that? And I replied, fuck using the law, man. In some states, the age of consent is 16. In some countries, it's 14. I misspelled countries. Morally, it's very questionable if a 30-plus-year-old man is getting with a barely legal 18, 19-year-old, and there's usually a predatory mindset behind why they're getting with them. And then this nigga replied, so what should the age of consent be? I muted the conversation after he asked me that question. And those aren't even close to the worst tweets that I saw about this topic. There were some really, really bad tweets about this topic yesterday. This stuff genuinely scares me, y'all. There are too many of us as men who think like this. Too many.
Let's jump into my favorite part of all of the content I post on YouTube, and that's just my thoughts, where I get to kind of express what I feel about whatever we have read or gone over. So let's get into it. All right, y'all know how I like to do. I like to highlight 5 kind of main points that came up for me when putting together this video from the perspective of a relationship coach that I think are important points for you to consider and you to really understand when you're out here in these dating streets, especially if you are a younger woman or have a younger woman in your life that's out here actively dating. Please pass these along. Point number 1, predatory men target youth because youth is easier to control. This is something that we've heard a million times, and this is a concept as old as time, okay? Let's start with the obvious facts. India Love was 19. The game was 35. At 35, a man has financial stability, industry experience, psychological maturity, and social influence. At 19, most women are still developing emotional boundaries, relationship standards, identity, confidence in themselves, and their brain is not fully formed yet, right? This creates an automatic power imbalance, and predators don't pursue equals. They pursue leverage. They pursue women who are easier to impress, easier to manipulate, easier to emotionally destabilize, because the less experienced you are, the more control they have. So here is a relationship coach tip. Pay attention to a man's dating pattern. Does he consistently pursue women significantly younger than himself? That's not a coincidence. That's a strategy. Healthy men pursue equals. Predatory men pursue advantage. And also, with working with many of my lovely clients, also watch the pattern if a man is consistently trying to date older women who may be more vulnerable, right? Especially, physically, mentally, etc. Those men are predatory as well. And they employ many of the same tactics as the men who are shooting for the very young ladies who have recently become adults in the eyes of the law. Point number 2, public disrespect reveals private disrespect. There were public photos of the game placing his hands inside India Love's pants in public in a park while paparazzi was present. And this is critical because this wasn't private. This was public. This was intentional. This was a display of ownership and an attempt at humiliation. Men who respect you protect your dignity. It's that simple. Men who exploit you or exploit you for, to put you on display and to basically bring a sense of harm to you, he is showing you exactly how he views you privately, like a piece of meat. And that's very, very sad and very unfortunate that India had to go through that experience. So relationship coaching tip is here. Watch how a man treats you in public. Does he protect your dignity, speak respectfully about you, treat you with emotional care, or does he sexualize you publicly, embarrass you, use you for attention? Public disrespect is never accidental, it's revealing. Also, watch out for the men who try to, change up the way they act in front of their friends and in front of their family. That is a man who is worried about impressing other men, and the opinions of other men are more important to him than the relationship he has with you. Leave that man alone. Point number 3. Predatory men depend on your lack of experience, right? On a woman's lack of experience. India Love herself admitted that she didn't fully understand what was happening at that time. And this is the key point. Predators rely on delayed realization. How many times have we seen movies, or we've heard from people, or if we've even experienced this ourselves or for somebody close to us, especially I would say younger years like college age, where a girl is assaulted or accosted by a man and she kind of is numb, and it takes her a while for the realization of what she experienced to sink in. These men rely on the fact that you won't fully understand the damage until years later, right? Because when you're young, attention feels like validation, right? Control feels like protection. And an old man or older man with any type of finesse can do this in a very seamless way, whereas a very young woman will not understand what she's experiencing. And exploitation a lot of times feels like opportunity, but with maturity comes clarity and realization, and also a deeper connection, usually with the body and with the internal voice. And clarity often reveals manipulation, right? So a relationship coaching lesson here is to pay attention to how a man makes you feel emotionally. Does he create, emotional stability, psychological safety, confidence, or does he create confusion, anxiety, emotional dependence? Healthy men stabilize you. Predatory men destabilize you, because destabilized women are easier to control. And there was a clip on TikTok, and this had to be, I would say, 3 or 6 months ago. And it was a white guy, and I don't know if he was a relationship coach. I don't know what exactly he did, but he was telling the story about in his past how he would do things to purposely keep his, I want to say girlfriend, it might have been wife, like emotionally off kilter, how he would withhold affection, how he would say and do things that were intentionally manipulative because he never wanted her to feel safe. Right? So the men who behave in this manner, it's intentional and it's not by accident. So if you clock that pattern, move accordingly. And that accordingly is to move away from that man. Point number 4, beauty makes you visible, but it also makes you a target. And I think this is definitely the double-edged sword of pretty privilege that a lot of people don't talk about. India Love was known for her beauty from a very young age. That young lady has light skin privilege in the Black community. We're talking about colorism runs very deep, as well as pretty privilege. She is a very attractive young woman. She had a massive online attention. She has massive visibility, massive desirability, and predators are drawn to that, not because they want to protect it, but because they want to consume it. Okay? Predators often pursue highly attractive young women because beauty creates access, and beauty also gives them points with other men. But youth creates vulnerability. They want the status of being associated with beauty without the responsibility of protecting the person behind it. And once again, they're doing this all for the head nods and the esteem in the eyes of other men. They're not pursuing these young, beautiful women because they genuinely like them 9 times out of 10. They just see them as a pretty ornament, and that's very sad. Relationship coaching tip here is never assume that attention equals respect. Just because a man desires you does not mean he values you. Ask yourself, is he investing in my growth, or is he benefiting from my presence? There's a difference. And you should never be with someone who you feel is using you basically for cool points with other men, or in some way using your aesthetic to boost himself up. Point number 5, legality does not equal morality, and this needs to be screamed from the mountaintops. One of the most common defenses people use in situations like this is, well, she was legal, but legality is a minimum standard, not an ethical standard. Just because something is legal doesn't mean it's healthy. It doesn't mean it's respectful, and it doesn't mean it's safe. And there's a lot of men that say this and think this is a totally okay argument, right? Ethical men don't pursue the minimum legal threshold. They understand how problematic that is. They pursue emotional compatibility and psychological equality. Predatory men pursue technical legality because it protects them from consequences, not because it protects the young woman involved. A relationship coaching lesson here is watch how a man justifies his behavior. Does he justify questionable behavior by saying it's legal, she's grown, she wanted it, or does he prioritize emotional safety, mutual respect, and psychological stability? His mindset is a huge reveal about his character, about his integrity, and overall about his intentions. And you don't want to partner with someone with a predatory mindset. It will harm you and anything that comes from that union. If you have children, you need to watch out for a man like that. Some takeaways that I really want people to think about when viewing this India Love situation, because I know a lot of people have strong opinions. They like her, they don't like her, they think she's arrogant, whatever. But whenever a woman is confident, they do want to call her arrogant. But a man can have these traits and it's fine, but I digress. Here's the truth that every woman needs to understand. Predatory men do not reveal themselves through their words. They reveal themselves through their patterns and their actions. Patterns like pursuing significantly younger women, publicly disrespecting women, creating emotional confusion, using power imbalances, justifying harmful behavior. Healthy men create safety. Predatory men create confusion. And confusion is not accidental. Confusion is a control mechanism. And it's also a doorway and a segue oftentimes to where abuse can enter without a woman understanding the type of situation she's in. Kind of like, how do you boil a frog? Slowly, because he won't jump out, versus just putting him in hot water. That is a lot easier to do, to have escalating behavior, if the woman is younger and has less life experience, context, confidence, etc. So let me know your thoughts below about this, India Love and her revelation and her being vulnerable about how she was treated when she was young, specifically by the game, but just in general. At the end of the day, the most important thing I want you to understand is this: patterns don't lie. Not his charm, not his age, not his success, not his attention, patterns. Thank you for tuning in for today's episode of Response and React. India Love's painful realization exposes the truth. Many older men target younger women. You see, because a man who is safe for you will never need you to be inexperienced in order to access you. He will never need you to be confused in order to stay, and he will never need you to be younger in order to feel powerful. And most importantly, he will never benefit from your lack of awareness. The most dangerous men are not the ones who look dangerous. They are the ones who look impressive, while quietly positioning themselves where they have the most leverage and the least accountability. And this is why your clarity is your protection. Not hope, not potential, not chemistry, clarity. When you learn to observe behavior objectively, you stop romanticizing things that are actually red flags. You stop explaining away discomfort. You stop giving men the benefit of the doubt when their patterns have already given you the truth. And that is when you enter a different phase in your dating life. And that's when your entire dating life changes, because now you're choosing from awareness, not from emotional vulnerability. If you're ready to strengthen your discernment, raise your standards, and learn how to identify unhealthy dynamics early before they cost you years of your life, I've created a private coaching community on Coffee where I share deeper breakdowns, guided exercises, and real-world frameworks designed to help you date from a position of clarity, not